I have goosebumps.
Part 2 of our story.
Can you do that one more time? I think I was shivering. I was thinking.
We left off last time talking about just after we first met, basically. So now we're going to tell you the story of dating and then getting engaged and then the craziness with having our wedding literally right when COVID happened. Okay, so yeah, the first few weeks of dating Izzy, I was really, really excited and really happy. But honestly, the whole time I just kept thinking, this is too good to be true. Just because of past experiences, I was like, oh, he's probably going to drop me in a couple weeks, but this is nice while it lasts, but it's too good to be true. I really did think to myself, he's this isn't.
I wooed her.
This isn't
I wooed
real.
her somehow.
This feels. It really did just feel too good to be true. That's just a phrase I kept saying over and over again. But I don't know. As we kept dating, I think my walls and barriers came down a bit, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should actually let this guy treat me nice and see what happens. And I feel like the second I did that, things really progressed positively. But one of the big catalysts, I'll say, to our relationship was 3 weeks into meeting Izzy. He got into a collarbone accident because he went mountain biking with his friend.
I can't talk about it because I have this huge scar here, and yeah, I got hurt, had to get an emergency surgery, and thankfully Sophia was there to take care of me. It was her first time meeting my parents too.
Yeah. The day that he got into a collarbone accident, I was going to a Shawn Mendes concert with a friend. As soon as we get to the concert, I get this call from Izzy's friend and he's like, hey, Izzy just got in a really bad collarbone accident. And I was like, oh, shoot. But I was the friend that I was the person that gave this friend a ride to the concert as well. I was her ride back, so I couldn't just leave the concert. And so I basically was watching this concert, but also really worried and stressed for Izzy because I was I just couldn't really fully enjoy it because I was like, oh my goodness, he's in so much pain, I should be there for him. So anyway, on the drive back from the concert, I was speeding down the motorway, and we get back, I drop my friend off, and as I'm pulling out, I scrape my car.
You visited me that same night?
Yeah.
Oh.
He doesn't remember a lot of these details because he was... You on meds, I think.
Yeah,
medication.
I was way out of it.
So yeah, I back out and I'm just in such a frenzy. And I'd never been to his parents' home before. I'd never met his parents because we'd only known each other for 3 weeks. And so anyway, I back out and my car just scrapes and it was just stressful. And so I was really worried because I was oh man, my car's already ruined. But anyway, I was okay, I just need to get down there. So anyway, I took the drive down.
You didn't even check it, did you?
I did. I got out really quick and I was like, well, nothing I can do now. Got back in the car. It was midnight. Drove down and he lives in this farm town, he grew up there, kind of middle of nowhere type place. And I was
it's not that far away. But it is a small
quite
town.
Out there, yeah. So anyway, I was driving and I was like, what is this place? There was hardly any street lamps. There were no street lamps. And I just remember it was late at night and I was just in a frenzy. And I feel really bad because the first time I met his parents, I was like, hi, I'm Sophia, where's Izzy? Because I was just so worried about him. So anyway, I went down to go see him, and I don't know, just that experience, he was in a lot of pain, I could tell, his collarbone was broken, so his whole shoulder was just
Literally, I just remember being so tired, and like Sophia said, my shoulder was just sagging down, and I knew it was broken, so I was just sitting there like this the entire time in so much pain. And I couldn't get my surgery until 2 days later, which sucked. And so they just gave me a bunch of medication and then sent me home. And that's when Sophia came to visit me. I thought it was the next day.
I call that the catalyst of our relationship because it helped me look after him basically. I remember the first night I washed his face for him because everything hurt. When you break your collarbone, it affects so much of your upper body region. So yeah, I washed his face for him. I helped him brush his teeth. He was still out of it on meds, and he asked me to clip his toenails.
Yeah, can you believe that?
And so
I didn't even know this until she told me 3 months ago from today.
Yeah, but it was a good experience because it helped me quickly realize I was oh, I actually really care about this boy, and it was good.
All I remember too is that the day she did come over, in the daytime, I was in bed for a long time, but she did come over, and I knew that I was gonna ask her to be my girlfriend. So she came over, we went on a walk. I felt like a little dog, but can you take me on a little walk? We'd go for 5 minutes and then I'd be totally gassed, so we'd go back. But on this walk, I was on hardcore medication, and I just remember asking her to be my girlfriend. I did plan it out, so like I saw it coming, but looking back in our picture, one of my eyes is like way droopy.
We always joke because I'm like, you asked me to be your girlfriend when you weren't really fully
Like
conscious.
Percocets.
Yeah. And then that summer was like the summer of love, let's call it.
It was so much fun.
We just had so many adventures. We'd go on hikes, we'd go on just so many adventures together. We'd go like paddle boarding. He'd take me on really fun dates.
I felt like I was really on my A game. We just enjoyed the outdoors. Utah in the summer is so nice.
Yeah.
Go up in the mountains a ton. And I remember I was just so excited to be dating Sophia. We basically, from that point on, we probably spent like every single day together. And so it was a perfect summer because I'd get off work early, and then I finished my school at the first half of the summer. And so the second half of the summer, it felt like we were just playing every single day.
Yeah,
we
it
were
did.
swimming and just having a ton of fun. And then dating, of course, was just really exciting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we quite quickly just like fell in love, I feel like. And yeah, it happened like faster than any of my other relationships in terms of like the strength of the relationship, I would say. Like it just felt like very comfortable. And I will say also, I think because I was at a point with boys where I was like, oh, I'm done. If they don't like me, they don't like me. If they do, they do. Because I was like that, I felt like I wasn't trying to impress anymore. Like I was just past that point, and because of that I felt like I could be 100% myself with Izzy. And so from like the moment I met him, I really felt like I could be myself with him.
One fun memory that I have from when we were dating was right at the beginning of us dating. She was going to go on a trip, just like a week-long trip, and I felt like I said earlier, I felt like if I didn't continue pursuing her, that she was just going to go after somebody else and I would just be old news. And so we went on a date to Salt Lake, and afterwards I gave her one of my sweaters.
It was this red hoodie.
I don't remember what the meaning was behind it, but I think we talked about it on one of the dates before. And so I gave her that and a little note that's basically just like a excited to get to know you note. And then Sophia that night came and dropped off a note at my doorstep. And I remember at that point I was like, whoa, there's no way that she's giving me a note. Like, she must really like me. And that was just the craziest thing ever.
And that trip that I went on, so I drove to Oregon with my sister and friends to go to one of my best friend's weddings to be a bridesmaid. And apparently, like, they will tell you the whole drive up there and like the whole drive down, they were like, all she could talk about was this new boy. Like, I didn't think I talked about him that much, but obviously I did because I was really excited about him. We'd only been on a couple dates, and like our dates were just really fun. Like, Izzy was really creative and really like intentional with the dates. Like, the second date we went on was we went to Salt Lake. We ate food, and then we rode scooters around and like played games in the scooters and went to the Capitol building, and it was just so fun. It was in the summer. Fun. It was just so happy. Okay, this is important because it shows your commitment.
Yeah, it was
very
like
early
August.
on. So met end of June. Yeah, met June. We met in June. And August time, I had planned a trip to go to Australia for a few weeks with my really good friend. And this was before I met Izzy. And so I knew that I'd be in Australia for a few weeks. And while I was there, I kind of jokingly said, like, oh, I'm going back home for Christmas. Like, you should come. And he was like...
No, you said it seriously.
Did I?
Yeah, I don't think I invited myself to England.
No, you didn't invite yourself. But I was like, oh, yeah, like, kind of lightheartedly, like, you should come. But it was, like, so early on that I didn't want to, like...
I thought she was totally like, I'm going to England. If you want to come, the door's open.
I can't remember exactly how I said it. It's probably like that. I don't know. But anyway, he was like, okay, yeah, I'll look into tickets. So I remember being on the beach in Australia on the phone with you, and you were like, hey, I'm about to book my tickets. And I remember my friend and I were like, oh man, I hope this works out, because if it doesn't... I remember he didn't buy the cancellation policy.
Yeah, I'm too cheap.
They're like $27 to pay for the cancellation policy to go to England, and so I was like, oh, I really hope this works. But I think I just had a feeling. I was like, I feel like we'll still be together by Christmas. And obviously we were. So
we went to England. I was down because I'd never been, and also it'd be really fun to travel with Sophia and go visit her family. I think a huge part of dating, obviously, is meeting the family and traveling together. We'd been on one trip to California, which was really fun. And I didn't see anything ending in the next month or two. So
Yeah.
yeah, I bought my ticket and then we went for Christmas and New Year's.
The England trip for me was really important because I think for me, it was honestly kind of like the make or break trip of the relationship, basically. Like, was this going to work out? Because, I mean, if he doesn't like my hometown, my family, my culture, like, could be a bit problematic for the long term. But thankfully, he really loved it. He really embraced it. And my family obviously loved him. Like, the second they met him, they were like, oh, he's great.
How could you not love Sophia's hometown though, and her family? I just remember getting to the airport. I traveled for like, it was a long time. So I was just totally exhausted getting there. And her family was so excited to meet me. Her mom and dad were super warm and welcoming. And then when I got to the house, everything in England's smaller. So the car was small. The cities were, I mean, the cities were bigger, but everything's just so compact. And so going to Chelmsford, it was just the funniest thing ever. I kept oohing and awing and everything. Said everywhere looks like castles because it's all made out of brick and like hundreds of years old.
Yeah, like when he first landed, we literally drove straight from Heathrow Airport to Windsor Castle because it's relatively close by. And we were like, yeah, this is just England for you. Like, castles everywhere.
It was so cool.
Not really, but we were like, this would be fun to just show him. So yeah, that trip went really well. And then after that, I was like, hey, this is probably going to work out. So let's also explain the culture where we live, because I think that's important. I feel like most of the world, or most people who are in relationships for like a few years before they get engaged and get married. We were both raised in a culture, I think, partly due to our religion, but part of that culture, I feel like a lot of people do get engaged fairly quick.
Very
within
quick.
a year,
Especially in
usually,
Utah.
especially in Utah where we're from, because
Because it happens so much, it's just okay.
it's just part of what's normal, honestly.
And in our heads, it's like, oh, well, I mean, I found the person, let's just get engaged. And why would we have a long engagement? Let's just get married. And so people usually do it in super short periods of times.
So anyway, we basically dated for around a year before we ended up getting married.
But it's good to date all 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. You got to see winter Sophia,
Yeah.
summer Sophia.
I remember at the end of summer, I was like, oh man, like this has been like, our relationship was going really well, but I was like, oh no, school's starting, winter's coming. And I was like, Izzy, like, you've seen summer Sophia. Summer Sophia is tanned, happy, carefree, not thinking about school. And I'm like, brace yourself for winter Sophia, because she's a different
I was
person.
scared.
I was like, yeah, she's just different. And so I was honestly like, oh, I hope he doesn't break up with me.
And winter summer was just as good as summer Sophia. There was like no difference. So now for the engagement story. I wanted to get the ring for Sophia, and I had something picked out. To buy the ring, I sold my bike that I crashed on.
Yeah.
So I sold my bike to have the funds to buy the ring.
Remember, we were both in college at this point, at university at this point, so...
So
Yeah.
every penny matters, and it still does, but back then especially.
Yeah.
So got the ring, and then Sophia, I think, had a hinge that it was coming, like she kind of knew.
And I think I kind of told you as well, I was like, you pick out the ring. Because
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not really a jewelry person. As you can probably tell, I'm just wearing my wedding ring and then simple earrings. And so I honestly trust Izzy, like, with his taste, because everything he buys me, he kind of knows what I like and what I'll wear. So I was like, yeah, just pick it out.
So I went for it, and thankfully she does like it.
Yeah, I love it.
But bought the ring, and then Sophia knew that it was coming. A friend told her that I bought a ring.
Because I was really like, when's it going to happen? Like, are we going to get engaged soon? I was like, if we don't get engaged by the end of this month, I'm just going to get down on one knee myself. and
Yeah,
ask
I
him.
thought she was ready to propose.
I was like, it just needs to happen already.
But a friend told her that I bought a ring, and so then at that point I just had to deflect it. And so I kept telling her, like, oh, it's coming in a few weeks. The process is really slow. And looking back, this was before COVID hit, so that wasn't even an excuse because this was February.
Yeah.
And what I did was I reached out to one of her friends who's a photographer. Tia, if you ever watch this, thank you for doing this for us. Tia Rose. Reached out to her because she wanted to do like a couples session with us just to shoot some photos. And so I asked her if we could do it at the Salt Flats and then do it on a certain day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You asked to do it. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so Sophia just had the expectations of doing some kind of photo shoot. I was nervous because I knew that I was going to propose, and Tia knew, so she was really excited.
I'll be honest as well that I really did have no idea it would happen that day, but I will say, I don't know if I told this, I will say that looking back, I remember waking up that morning and literally I remember having the thought, today's going to be different. Like, I remember thinking that.
That's what she says.
No, I promise you. I just remember thinking, like, today's going to be different for some reason. So anyway, we were doing the shoot, and it was really fun. Things were going well. And then Tia was like, okay, Sophia, turn around, and Izzy's going to run up from behind you and, like, catch you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was standing there waiting. And then,
I think Sophia was suspicious at this point.
Yeah.
Because Sophia turned around pretty quickly. She, like, kept turning around, and Tia's like, no, Sophia, look forward. And I'm over here trying to get the ring out of my pocket, hoping it didn't fall out anywhere.
Because we were, yeah. Izzy has a running joke. Whenever we're, like, in a restaurant or something, he's like, okay, Sophia, don't turn around. And I'm like, as soon as he says don't turn around, I'll turn around.
Oh my gosh. She's the worst at that. But anyways, I pulled out, and then I just walk up behind her as she's, like, peeking over her shoulder every 2 seconds. And I kneel down, and I can't remember what I said. I don't even want to
I'll be honest, I can't remember either, really.
I think I try to keep it short.
Yeah,
something like, I know that you're the one. I love all the time we've spent together. I'm excited to spend more time together. Will you marry me? Something like that.
Yes!
And she was so excited.
I just remember, like, jumping up and down and just being so happy. Like, I really did feel so happy. I was just like, on a cloud that night. I was so happy.
It was so exciting. I was just shocked by how excited she was. That was, like, my favorite part.
I just remember walking back that night after the engagement shoot and just being like, whoa, like, this is real. Like, we're actually going to get married. Like, this is so exciting. And then things were going great, well, beautiful. And then COVID. So this was February 20th when we got engaged. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
February 20th when we got engaged. COVID hit March 13th.
Did you think we were going to get engaged on Valentine's?
I did, yeah. I was a bit disappointed, actually, because I thought we were going to get engaged on Valentine's.
I think I remember that. Did we go on some kind of date and you were like... I think she was sad when we were going home from the date.
What were we doing?
And in the back of my mind, I was like, oh no. Then comes March, middle of March. Everybody knows this. COVID hits hard and everything just comes to a stop. Of course, unexpected. Everybody's scared. Nobody has any idea what's going on. And of course, it was really sad. There was really bad things going on. But for us, we were sad too, because Sophia's family was supposed to fly over from England. We were supposed to have a big wedding here, end of June, have a huge celebration. And then I think it was funny because I think back then we thought things might be clear by June.
Yeah, we were like, I'll give it a month.
It's going to be fine. This will be 2 weeks.
Basically, everything we had planned just went... got obliterated, basically. Honestly speaking, it was a blessing, weirdly, because it basically forced us to, like, strip everything back, and we were like, hey, we had a like housing contract that started May 1st, and originally Izzy was just going to live there by himself for a bit until we were going to get married originally in June, but we were like, well, why don't we just get married May 1st, and then we can move into that place. It was just a basement. And then we can, like, carry on with our lives, because at least we can carry on together during this, like, crazy time. And so, yeah, it, like, really forced us to just strip everything away and get married. And it was just so crazy, because I remember the day before we got married, I picked up my wedding dress at, like, 9 p.m. Izzy was taking a final in school. We were moving things out of both of our apartments into our new apartment. And we were trying to, like, organise this really simple wedding. And in the end, we'd just have me and Izzy, obviously, his family, and then 4 of my best friends. The only, like, sad thing about our wedding, honestly, was the fact that my family couldn't be there. It was in this beautiful, like, green field. For some reason, we really wanted to get married in a green field with hills, and we found it. 2 days before we were getting married, we found this location.
We did it in this huge field, just family. We had a picnic. It was very basic. Our friend made a cake.
Delicious cake.
Oh, it was so good. Thank you, Daryl, for the cake.
The best cake. We had a first dance to a Paul McCartney song. It was just so simple, but it was actually really special. And I don't know, it was just like, I look back on that day and it was such a tender day for us, I think.
Yeah.
I really do love how simple it was. I love that we, like, basically eloped is what we say.
One thing too that I wanted to say was for us in our religion, getting sealed in the temple is really important. And so we kept thinking that after we were married in May, by the end of the summer, Sophia's family could come over and then we could get sealed. And then we thought by Christmas, Sophia's family could come over, or we could go over there to England and get sealed in the temple. And then that didn't happen. And so last summer, so a few months ago in June, we finally went to England. Things opened up, and we were finally able to have our sealing, be sealed to each other. And at that point, Sophia's family was there, her grandmas were there, and all her family. So
Yes.
yeah, that really completed things for us.
Yeah, it did. It was really special because I felt like, yeah, we had the civil ceremony with Izzy's family and my friends in America, and then the sealing part of our marriage was done in England with my side of the family. So anyway, that's kind of our full story of how we met, our engagement, getting married. Obviously, we've had adventures since then. We've only been married for just under 2 years, so
It goes by so fast.
it really does. So hopefully just more and more adventures, but it's been like the funnest almost 2 years so far since being married.